It's my pleasure to welcome you here to the Clark Howard Show, where our mission is to serve you with advice and information that empowers you so you make better financial decisions in your life. I hope you remember to check out Clark.com and ClarkDeals.com if you want more great money-saving advice.
Sorry, I just have to say I laughed there because every time if you don't watch the YouTube feed, Clark points at me better in your life, like I'm doing terrible.
No, you're great with money. It's just funny. You always react. So, of course, since it's Friday, we will start out today with my favorite segment, Clark Stinks. And later, I've got important news for you on the car insurance front. But without further ado, it's time to hear how I stink it up.
I should have never encouraged you to speak.
You must think I'm pretty stupid.
You should be ashamed of yourself.
Well, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe you're right, pal.
Okay. A caller was charged for a new tire in a rental car, and you just acted like this was standard practice and fair. In what world is this fair? Now you're saying we have to inspect the tires before taking the vehicle? The tires on my car from Costco come with a road hazard warranty. You didn't even suggest any method to avoid this potential hassle other than having it fixed yourself and paying for towing yourself. Would their supplemental coverage cover this? I'm starting to think this coverage, which I never take because of you, is worth the peace of mind of not being billed for a dent I didn't do and now flat tires. I can't believe I now have to worry about tires on a rental. This stinks, Alex.
Alex, okay, so this is tradition in the automobile industry. If you go buy a new car, they give you two warranties. They give you one from the tire manufacturer, and they give you one from the vehicle manufacturer. It is tradition, as unfair as it is, that when you rent a car and something goes wrong with the tires, and let's say you get a nail in the side or whatever, and that tire's ruined, you're the one who has to pay to replace it. I didn't say it was fair. I mean, you pointed out properly, that seems ridiculous. You rented the car, and you're the one who has to buy the tire. And that's why experienced car renters, when they go around, when they first get a car, they look at the car to make sure there's no damage, and they also check the tires to make sure they have adequate tread. And yes, I have turned down car rentals on multiple occasions because of tread wear. Because if I'm going to be responsible for that tire, and also they're making me unsafe, I want to know those tires are okay. Now, the story I told, I have had to buy one tire over the years. Now, I rent as many as 30 cars a year, and I've gotten unlucky. Once I had to replace a tire that blew, and then another time I had to patch a tire that had a flat. And so both those times I had expense. But I think about over those years, I've rented hundreds of cars, and I've had those two incidents.
But did your credit card cover?
It did not. And though when I had the flat that I was able to repair, it was so cheap to repair. It was like $20 or something.
Okay.
That I wouldn't even bother even checking to see if the.
But you could. If one could.
You know, I don't know if the.
Like I would
car rental coverage on the credit cards. I've never had that question before.
Okay.
Thank you, Christa.
All right.
I don't know.
See.
I don't know if that does, but it's a rare occurrence. Just as it's rare on your own vehicle, it's just ugly when it happens to you.
A small order remains on the subject of printers. Ditch the inkjet and get a laser printer. The price of laser printers is on par with inkjets. While the toner cartridges replacements are generally more expensive than inkjet cartridges, I've had my LaserJet printer for 13 years and never had a clog. It can go unused for 6 months and print perfectly when needed. Additional bonuses are that toner doesn't bleed and resists water very well. The biggest con is that every sheet printed contains a micro pattern of yellow dots that are imperceptible. I have verified this using a blue light and magnifying glass. The reason is for law enforcement to track counterfeiters, but as a longtime graphic designer, I've never had an issue with the yellow dot pattern. Why? because if my project is for a paid client, I use professional printing services. My laser printer is perfect for drafts and personal projects, Kristen.
Kristen, thank you for this. And by the way, we had that suggestion made 2 years ago from someone that when I was talking about the Epson that has basically you end up with free printer ink for life when you buy the printer. And but we were talking about the clogging, how if you don't use it regularly, it'll clog. And we had listeners suggest strongly that I try a laser printer, and I've been using one ever since, side by side with my Epson. And you know which one I use almost always? Because I got a black ink laser, unlike Kristen that has a multicolor laser. It was cheap. It's a Brother that has really done well, and I've never had to buy a replacement cartridge for the Brother.
So you use that one more?
Use the Brother black ink laser like all the time, and it was under $200 for the laser.
Clark, you don't stink, but you mentioned a couple of things regarding traveling that perked up my ears. At one time, you said you drop off your wife at a museum and you go street wandering. You tout the You tout the educational value of learning about different cultures. Museums are an excellent educational tool as well. Do you not enjoy them? Then you said you'd go into any Costco. I take it you'll sprint, run, and race to one on a travel trip. Do the shirts, paper towels, and toilet paper there have more cultural value than items in a museum? I'm a strong advocate for to each their own, and you do you, but please help me understand. Kevin in Idaho.
Okay, Kevin. So let me clarify. If it's a history museum, something like that, I go in it with my wife. If it's an art museum, I don't go. I have shared before that I am so art side of my brain dead. Is that left or right side? I'm brain dead.
Your left side.
Left side. It doesn't exist. And
no, it's your right side, because if you're left-handed, it's your right side. Sorry.
all right, whatever it is, I don't.
You're not into art.
I don't have an art side. And we'll have a painting that I'll see and I'll say, "Oh, did you just get this?" And my wife will look at me like, "We've had this our entire marriage, which is 29 years." And I'm like, "Come on, you're kidding." I mean, I don't notice it doesn't, I don't absorb it. It doesn't, I know this makes me sound like a terrible person, but it's not my thing.
It's fine.
So I'll escort her to the museum. She spends her time. She texts me when she's about done, and I wander back to the museum.
Clark, I'm the president of a condo association, and I truly appreciate you telling listeners to get involved in their HOA when they have concerns. However, you've repeatedly made it seem like it's easy to get on a condo board. It's not. There either has to be an upcoming opening due to members term being up, or a reason such as a member selling their unit or being voted off. Our board is very active, and we encourage owners to be involved, but no matter what, we do get owners involved. Few show up. No matter what we do, few show up to our annual meeting and call into our monthly meeting. Our last 3 monthly board meetings had 0 out of 80 owners call in, and we had some big agenda items. My point is, being on a board is an unpaid part-time job, and wanting to be a member to fix only one issue that's important to you is short-sighted. You should only want to be on a board if you want to be involved in the community as a whole. You shouldn't tell listeners to get on the board over one issue, and this is from Scott.
Scott, thank you. So I have found that people, I've been on 3 condo boards, I've been an officer of 2, and people who are on condo boards understand pretty quickly that you're not just going to be there for whatever one thing fired you up, but it may be what motivates you to get involved in the first place.
Christina from Georgia asked if there were situations where it's better to use a regular 401k over a Roth 401k. You forgot to mention that regular 401k accounts are best for money that you eventually intend to donate, for example, through a donor-advised fund, since you could easily donate this money tax-free. If you donate from a Roth account, you will never recoup the taxes that you already paid on that Roth money. Andrew from Chicago.
Andrew, very good point. There is a thing you can do in retirement where you can donate a certain amount of money in a traditional account I think it's 100,000 maybe, and you don't get a deduction for it, but you don't have to pay tax, the embedded tax, on the money you have in that retirement account. It is a technical area, but a very good point, Andrew.
A week's worth of cat box cleaning for you, mister. Junk car for $5,000 versus Taylor Swift for $250. At 16, the concert will be worth it for the experience, the memories, and the future stories and conversations than a car, even if it's just a down payment. A car will get her around for a few years, but experiences like these are priceless. I'm in my 50s and an empty nester, but I would never ever suggest to my kids this is a mature, practical trade-off. Go back to your Eiffel Tower and think about it. Mad Dad in Paw Paw, Illinois.
The Eiffel Tower thing, if you're not aware, is when I wouldn't pay for my kids to ride the elevator to the top, and I made them walk the stairs to the level you can walk to save money. So we have some Swiftie fans among us who absolutely agree completely with Mad Dad that I'm completely off my rocker, saying that it's better to resell the tickets, have the $5,000, buy the used car. So this is an area there's going to be obviously disagreement.
Clark, you don't stink, but your QR code hackers do. Fortunately, there is a way to protect your credit card info. When paying for parking or for food using a QR code, and if you're using an iPhone, choose the Apple Pay option. Apple Pay does not use your real credit card number, so hackers do not get access to your accounts. This won't stop fake QR code scams, but it prevents credit card theft. Robert,
that is a brilliant idea to use Apple Pay or what does Google call it now?
Wallet.
Google Wallet, to use that when you're paying, because it does generate a unique one-time code. Criminals won't get that, but it won't keep you in a parking lot from being booted or towed because the QR code had been covered up and you use the fake QR code.
Clark doesn't stink, but I feel like he's leaving his listeners guessing when it comes to umbrella insurance. Clark used the term a lot during his segment. Saying someone with a lot of equity in their home or a lot of assets, I understand everybody's circumstances may be different and we need to seek advice on our personal situation. However, a lot to one person could be $20,000, another $100,000, and another $500,000. It would be helpful if you gave an order of magnitude here to help people determine where they fall, even if it's percentages like 50% equity. That would help listeners figure out where they stand. Jenny,
great point. So umbrella insurance policies are excess liability insurance policies that sit on top of your homeowner's insurance, your auto insurance, and they're sold in multiples of $1 million. So what you're looking at is, let's say something happens and you're found liable and you got a lawyer that somebody's hired. They're looking to see how much uncovered assets you have. That's how much equity you have in your home, how much money you have in accounts, potentially depending on the state, not 401ks, pretty much anywhere, but in IRAs, in investment accounts, in bank accounts. And so if you've got, let's say, you're seven figures, if you have assets above $1 million, that's when you really need to be looking at having an umbrella insurance policy. So when I say a lot, assets in excess of $1 million puts you into that category.
and we have an article on umbrella insurance at clark.com if you want more info. Clark, you're a wee bit smelly like sports gear. You talked about car insurance and the costs with saving ideas. I recently signed into my car insurance website, scrolled through the pages. They say who their insurer is, and it has a page with discounts. I opened it and took a good look at what they offer. They were not discounting my blind spot monitor on one of my cars. I never looked, but because they were still listing a creditor on my insurance for the car, I was trying to remove that myself. Check your policies. Make sure you get all the discounts. I will be saving $102 per year, Valerie.
So that's great, Valerie. That's $102 tax-free without that much time invested in it. And people never look at their auto insurance coverages. And that's something that I do at renewal. Mine renew 6-month cycles. And I go look and see that the coverages are as they are supposed to be on my insurance every time I renew. And what Valerie has said is a great idea.
Clark, you stink worse than a bag of 1-year-old rotten eggs. You recently claimed that many of the national chain drugstores, Walgreens, CVS, etc., are closing due to excessive high prices on store and pharmaceutical products, and that shoppers are waking up to this fact. What you failed to mention is the high level of theft rings that target the brick-and-mortar retail outlets and cause severe economic damage to cut into these stores' profits. If you can't admit the full reality of the situation, we cannot address the root of the problem and come to a resolution that works for the stores and the customers. Joy.
Joy, thank you. The culture of shoplifting that developed during COVID is something that just eats at me. I can't stand that people think it's absolutely okay to walk in somewhere, grab something, and just walk out the door and think that they got over on the man. I cannot stand that. Having said that, Walgreens in one of their quarterlies blamed shoplifting for the fact that they were closing stores. And then when they did their thing with analysts, one of the analysts probed with the I think it was the CFO, Walgreens, said, come on, what's the deal here really? I mean, shoplifting is only this much, and you're closing all these stores, and that's when they admitted that that was an excuse. That was not the real reason. There are locations that retailers of various types, like Target, there are certain locations that Target was getting hit very heavily by shoplifting rings, destroying the profitability of individual stores, and they closed those stores. And I'm sure that's true with the overpriced CVS and Walgreens, that there are locations that shoplifting was the primary contributing factor. But you're not closing a third of your stores. In the case of CVS or Walgreens, it's closing a third of them. Anyway, the number of these chain drugstores that are closing is so large. And something I never talk about, do you know one of the primary factors that they're closing these stores is Amazon? The people who go to an overpriced CVS or Walgreens to buy what they call front of the store stuff are convenience shoppers. Those are the same people who shop so heavily through Amazon.com, and every sale that convenience shopper is buying from Amazon is a sale potentially being subtracted from CVS or Walgreens. And so where they used to be able to make these enormous markups on the front of the store non-pharmacy stuff, they can't do it anymore, and it killed the economics. And that's why you're going to see so far fewer of these. And one of the great things, this is great, the national chains drove out so many independent pharmacies, and now independent pharmacies are coming back to life. And pharmacist-owned locations are coming to life with independents. And I think that's great. Coming ahead, one of our Clark Stinks was about auto insurance. I have more you need to know about auto insurance coming up. It's been bad, ugly in the auto insurance market. Rates last year went up just a whisker less than 20% on average across the country. More some places, less others, more for some drivers, less for others, and it varies by company, but the overall gist of things is an increase in auto insurance of nearly 20% in a single year. And what's really amazing about that is that's in a year where overall inflation had come off those crazy levels we were having during the heat of the COVID cycle. But auto insurance, a lot of auto insurers have been losing big money. Now with all these increases, they're becoming financially healthy again on the auto insurance side. And that's only part of the story on auto insurance. This year coming up, in 25, when your renewal comes up, even this fall, if you have a renewal coming up, it will be very much to your advantage to shop around for your auto insurance. And this is the reason that is significant. A lot of that premium increase was because of the cost of used cars having gone through the roof in the COVID cycle. Now used car prices have been going down, down, down. And so if your car is totaled in an accident, your SUV, whatever, what the insurer is going to pay you is, this is the bad side of prices coming down, what your insurer is going to pay you is significantly lower. Second thing, when a vehicle was in a wreck and the insurer was paying for it to be repaired, the problem was that repair shops, body shops, were having trouble getting parts. And so those vehicles were sitting there longer and longer and longer, and the cost of the repairs had gone way up, and the car rental company was having to pay for rental cars at highly inflated rates because of the high costs of used cars. I mean, it was all a train wreck for the auto insurers and for you and me as customers. Well, now a lot of insurers have become really financially healthy again. Others still not so much. And the costs that they've been bearing are coming back down. And so it means that there's going to be a really important cycle for you to be a free agent. Anytime any industry goes through a rapid change, it's a time that's really important for you to shop. Because you could have one insurer that's motivated again to get customers. You could have another that's still really motivated to try to boost profitability. So that's why you'll see these larger gaps. An example that I give from time to time, gas prices are dropping right now. Gasoline for automobiles, for people who drive ICE cars. Anyway, which is most of us. When you go to fill up, what you'll notice now going down the road, the gaps from the cheapest to the most expensive station are larger right now because the cost of a barrel of oil and then a gallon of gas at wholesale, both down. And then gas stations, some try to hold on to higher prices, others cut to the marketplace, and that's why the gap gets larger. Anytime an industry, any industry, is going through a transformational moment, that's when you being a shopper is extra important. And that's where auto insurance is right now, and especially in 25. Christa?
Okay, this is a tough one from Lisa in Indiana. She says, thank you for the sunscreen recommendation earlier this summer. I'm a stage 4 melanoma survivor. I have health insurance through my employer, but I still have depleted my savings due to the treatments and other costs from complications. I use my HSA for ostomy supplies. I'm on a payment plan for some of the charges, but more bills are coming in from recent scans, and I'll have another PET scan in a couple of months. Where can I get help to pay for out-of-pocket costs? Thank you for all you do.
Lisa, first of all, surviving stage 4, congratulations to you. And I hope that you continue to win this battle against melanoma. And melanoma is, in many cases, a silent killer. Yours was discovered late, and you so far are winning the fight, and that's great. But your wallet is losing the fight. Hospitals, PET scan almost always is in a hospital-based environment. Many of the other scans and treatments you have are going to be in a hospital environment. Hospitals are generally required to provide what's known as charity care, a term we don't use often anymore, but that's what it is. And the hospital will have, that you go to in Indiana, will have either a patient advocate or a hospital social worker. They'll call them usually one of those two terms. You go to that patient advocate or social worker, talk to them about the problems, and they will work on your behalf as your advocate with the hospital to get the bills reduced or even potentially eliminated. If you don't ask, you don't get. most hospitals in the country are nonprofits. Nonprofit hospitals are required by law to do this in order to maintain nonprofit status. The shocking thing I read, it wasn't recently, it was last year, I think, is that for-profit hospitals tend to provide more charity care than nonprofit hospitals, which is bonkers.
Wow.
The nonprofits need to be doing what they're supposed to be doing. And I wish you, Lisa, continued good health.
For sure. Lynn in New York says, my husband and I just had a baby girl. She's 5 months old now.
Congratulations on that.
We're in our late 30s and early 40s and live in New York City. We have
a very affordable place to raise a child, I must say.
We have a combined yearly income of about $240K and max out our 401ks and Roth IRAs. We both have 529 plans for our daughter, but my husband doesn't believe we need two. I was looking for an alternative this evening when I came across a savings tip on social media that recommended a UGMA, UTMA. I tried looking into this, but I'm still confused. Should we also be contributing to this type of account? Please help. Thanks for all you do, and go Big Red.
I think that means Cornell. How about you? That means you're a brainiac, Lynn. Okay, so Lynn, your husband is right. There's no need for you to have each of you to own a 529 account on your 5-month-old baby girl. And I can tell already she's brilliant. She's going Ivy, whatever. We'll see. But the thing is, you want to contribute enough to the 529 to defray some amount of the crazy amount that college will be 18 years from now. College costs, though, are not going up like they used to. So the projections that used to be there, that basically with a newborn today, you need, $1 million or whatever to pay for college, not likely to happen because the attitude towards college in the United States has changed so dramatically. Colleges are going to have to be more disciplined, more careful at the cost of running the college, and thus the cost of tuition will not go up like originally projected. But it still means you need to save a lot. And if your baby's going to go to private college, you need to save a lot. So the money you're each contributing to separate, it should all go into one. And that doesn't mean you reduce what you're contributing. It just means contribute all of it into the one account. So UGMA and UTMAs. So they are custodial accounts set up specifically so that you are acting on behalf of the interests of your child, building up money for your child, typically in an investment account. And you could do that. The tax treatment, because of what you and your husband earn, the tax treatment is not that great on an UGMA or UTMA, but it's all about getting money into your child's name. I would say putting the money you're putting into these two separate ones, just put it into the 529. Put your efforts there because I can tell you're a family culture that college is definitely part of the future. Even if it turns out not to be, we now have this option of converting that money tax-free, that's grown tax-free, into a Roth IRA if your daughter decides not to go to college.
Kevin in New Jersey says, I've been listening to you since I came to this great country. Thank you for your wisdom and advice, and it was and is an education and such a help to me throughout the years. Recently, I've been traveling overseas with friends from Europe. They are big fans of Revolute for transferring money from bills between each other. I use my Fidelity 2% card overseas now that they have removed the foreign transaction fees for most purchases. However, I would like to open a Revolute account for ease of bill sharing, etc. I'm just finding it impossible to open one here in the USA. I've gone through the online procedure and even had my son try too, and we just get, we'll contact you when your invitation is ready. It's been weeks now, and I have not heard anything. Do you have any information on setting up one of these accounts?
So Revolute is a great organization for people who travel overseas or have family overseas. They give you the ability to move money into different currencies at a much lower cost than has been traditional. Revolute is one of a handful of competitors that have really changed the game with sending money. Revolute also, as part of their account, will issue you I don't know if it's a Visa or MasterCard, that is a debit card that works, or it's more like a stored value card, that works with the money you have on deposit, and you can use it pretty much anywhere in the world, and it transacts in whatever currency of the country you're in at an incredibly favorable exchange rate. Revolute has just gone through the process of becoming not just a money exchanger, but a full banking operation in the United Kingdom. And it's possible, although I've not read this, that as part of them having established their banking charter recently, that they are frozen in establishing new accounts. I don't know. I would send a message to customer no service at Revolute and see if you get an answer why your application isn't processing. It could be a coincidence, but it's very likely, by my guessing, that it has to do with the process of Revolute going from being an independent fintech kind of organization to an actual full chartered bank. And my hope, because I always get nervous about this, seems like when something becomes a bank, that the quality of the service and the pricing goes in the toilet. And I'm hoping that doesn't happen with Revolute. And on that note, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. I hope that you have a wonderful weekend in front of you. If you are like me, you're going to be watching a lot of football over the weekend. Although now you can't even say weekend. I mean, there's games. Some weeks it seems like almost every night of the week, except maybe Tuesdays, there will be college or pro football or something going on that lets me overdose on football, or whatever it is you want to do as we move into fall this weekend. Have a great, great time, and know that we serve you all weekend long at Clark.com and ClarkDeals.com. See you Monday.